So hello and welcome to today's video. So hoaxes have been an extremely common thing for nearly every single game ever made. You hear stories of secret levels, character unlocks, weapons and bosses and so much more that you might have heard about from your friend at school or read about online. And you may hear something about, say, Knuckles being unlockable in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and you're told how to unlock him. Just beat Classic and All-Star mode on the highest difficulty possible without dying once. Then you'll have a fight with Knuckles himself, win the fight and you'll unlock him. And because these requirements are incredibly difficult, you keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually you do it. You beat Classic mode and All-Star mode on the highest difficulties imaginable without dying once. But there's no sign of Knuckles anywhere. And then you start to feel incredibly frustrated, because you put so much time and effort into finding Knuckles, only for him to just never appear. And then you realise that Knuckles never existed at all. And this is a very similar story for many people who are playing games as far back as the 80s, all the way to the mid-2010s near enough. And while these hoaxes are nowhere near as popular as they are today, I'd say they were at their strongest point in the mid-2000s, I'd say, because it was at a time where the internet was still around, so you had all these rumours. But at the same time, it wasn't as big as it was today, if that makes sense. And there was no real way of knowing for sure if somebody was telling the truth or not. So when it comes to all these gaming hoaxes, I always felt the hoaxes about unlockable characters in racing or fighting games, or something like that, were always the most believable. Back then, games used to have some very specific requirement on how to unlock characters. Get maximum rank on all cups, beat all the time trials, complete specific level in under 3 minutes or whatever. Have a save from a different game on your memory card. And in the case of some games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, once you beat the main story you had to go back to a specific level, then find a certain door that wasn't there before, then you'd have a new character to unlock. So your friend telling you that you can unlock Nitrous Oxide in Crash Team Racing by 100%ing Adventure Mode and then beating all of Oxide's time trials isn't that unbelievable at all, because it does sound very legitimate. And speaking of Oxide actually, sometimes playable character hoaxes create themselves by not having certain people become playable. In the case of Crash Team Racing, as mentioned just, you can play as every single boss character in the game. You can play as Papu Papu, Ripperoo, Pinstripe, but you cannot play as the main villain of the game, who is Nitrous Oxide, which itself is quite unusual. Why are all these other bosses playable except him? A lot of people back then really wanted to play as Oxide, so you can kind of see how that hoax began. And prior to internet rumours kicking off, gaming magazine EGM were very notorious for their hoaxes back in the day. If you heard anything about Sheng Long in Street Fighter, Akuma appearing in Resident Evil, or unlocking Tails and Sonic in Super Smash Bros. Melee, EGM were likely responsible for it. They always did these prank articles every year for April Fools, and because the articles were just tiny articles, instead of being front page material, complete with their own photoshopped images, and the fact most people were reading after April 1st, it made the perfect recipe for a prank. Hoaxes like these always had an element of fun and intrigue to them. They was always frustrating as well, but just the thought of having something more to your games that you never knew about was always weirdly exciting when you're quite young. And sometimes these hoaxes can originate from weird oddities in games. Sometimes you'll be playing a game and you'll come across something that just feels really off. Maybe there's an area that has a door that implies it'll open, and it never does, but you can clip the camera through the wall and you can see the inside. Or you might see an area off in the distance that looks reachable but isn't by legitimate means. For example, in GoldenEye 007 on the N64, the dam level, you can make out a strangely detailed island off in the distance, but without any way to reach it legitimately. So naturally hoaxes came about, like you had to find a secret switch somewhere and it'd spawn a boat you can get across there, or just stuff like that. Or sometimes it was just a case of a weird pickup. Like you'd find an item and it just doesn't do anything. For example, in Banjo-Kazooie, you could actually come across this mysterious ice key, which you can only get to by cheating. Once you pick up the ice key, it doesn't do anything at all. But because it's an ice key, a lot of people assume there must have been a gate or something that you can put the key in and you'll have one extra bonus level in the game. And as said with oddities, sometimes they can just be mistakes. For example, in Super Mario 64 DS, on the save file screen, on Peach's castle you can make out a strange black square on the side of the castle, which quite a few eagle-eyed players noticed didn't exist in the original Mario 64, and even in the DS version it wasn't there either. So hoaxes started originating with how that black box must be some secret level, and maybe unlocking Waluigi. And many hoaxes surrounding these often come quite naturally, because in the examples I mentioned just, you're likely to go and ask your friend from school, or ask on an internet forum, what's up with that weird black box in Mario 64 DS, or how to reach that island in GoldenEye. and then somebody's just going to respond to your question like, that black box is housing a secret level where you can unlock Waluigi as a 5th playable character. Once you get all 150 power stars and got all the keys from the rabbits, then as Wario you need to go to the courtyard, jump in the cannon and fire where that black box should be. The wall will break and it'll take you straight to the Waluigi level. And then being told that might interest you, so you'll Google Super Mario 64 DS how to unlock Waluigi and find all kinds of guides on how to unlock him. Looking back, it's always quite funny about how incredibly bare these secret level hoaxes were. I don't think I've ever seen a single level hoax that goes in depth. It's always something basic, like it's just a secret boss fight. It's an ice mountain level. Because when you really enjoy a game, you want to experience all of it, and being told there's a new level you've never seen before, or a playable character you haven't unlocked yet, it always makes you intrigued and mildly excited for it because it's new content after all. But of course, with more and more people joining the internet in the mid-2000s, it wasn't long before people started sharing their own stories of secret levels and unlockable characters with people all across the globe. But due to the addition of editing software, YouTube and modding in the case of PC, hoaxes started to become a lot more legitimate. What separates these kind of hoaxes from ones you got told in the schoolyard is the fact, on the internet, you often have proof. You don't just take your best mate's word for it. Sometimes these hoaxes had video or photographic evidence to back up said claim. Is it real? Is it fabricated? That was entirely up for you to decide. When it came to modding or photoshopping, for quite a few people who didn't know about that, it was very hard to distinguish between real and fake. But thanks to YouTube, anybody and their mother could just make videos, so some pranksters got down into uploading proof of them playing as this fake character or whatever. And sometimes they gave you leeway making the video seem legitimate, and then throw either a rickroll or a screamer straight in your face. Plenty of people who wanted to see the ghost of Samantha Maxis in Call of Duty World at War's Doris, and those who wanted to see what secret the big star statue held in Mario 64, were left traumatised and quite pissed off. With many of these kind of videos, it's always 50-50 on if it was a screamer or not. Sometimes they didn't even try to make it look real. The video starts in about 5 seconds, it's just a bait and switch. Like one I fell for was how to unlock Taboo in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The entire video is just this for 3 minutes straight. But sometimes the video evidence was really good on these hoaxes. Instead of them being screamers or bait and switches, uploaders went through the effort to make them look as legitimate as possible. Herobrine is probably one of the greatest gaming hoaxes of the early to mid 2010s. Now, I've never been heavy into Minecraft myself, but Herobrine was that big, even as a non-Minecraft fan, you knew all about Herobrine. Kids at school would spend entire break times just talking about him, which I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong because as I said I don't follow Minecraft, started as this weird picture that was posted to the Minecraft forums. And then of course there was that fake Herobrine encounter livestream, which Blame on Jorge did a lost media video on a while back, which likely did more to validate that hoax more than anybody could ever imagine. Livestream proof of encountering Herobrine after livestreaming for about, I think it was 20 minutes to half an hour, is extremely convincing. Of course nowadays we know it's a mod, but I'd imagine for the Minecraft fandom back then, that was just undeniable proof Herobrine is real, and yeah, one single mod pretty much caused Herobrine to become real, I guess you could say. And it wasn't the only one either. For a lot of GTA's Bigfoot hunters, mods were a pain in the ass. A lot of people who were using them were claiming they found Bigfoot, which really confused people because they were told be in the woods at 3 AM when it's raining and thundering and you have a small chance of encountering Bigfoot then. And then you go on YouTube and you see somebody who's just fighting Bigfoot on the highway in broad daylight. So it kind of muddied the waters quite a bit. But another good video hoax I have in mind is Marty from Mario Kart 64. In Bowser's Castle you can see a very unusual green thwomp in some kind of jail cell, who doesn't appear anywhere in the Mario series. So in 2007 a video got uploaded showing you how to unlock this Marty, and the reason so many people believed this was because of one slight editing trick at the end, where Marty's cell bars disappear, and that was more than enough proof to convince people he was playable. Even though keep in mind there was never actually any unlock screen shown, nor any actual Marty gameplay. People just believed it outright. And that was just thanks to one very simple editing trick. But speaking of hoaxes with some really good editing, you cannot overlook the old lady in Modern Warfare 2. It's said on the underpass level, if you shoot the 4 corners of a door, an old lady will appear and kill you. And this fooled so many people it was unreal, and it's because of the quality of the video editing. Considering this was made all the way back in 2010, the video editing was very advanced and still holds up even today. It's also quite funny because one look at the guy's channel would reveal he's a visual effects artist and he's making edited videos like that since about 2006. Just for whatever reason, nobody bothered to really check his channel. Or they did, but the editing was that good they thought it might have been real. But the guy behind it, Dead Ace Films, did carry on the Old Lady and Call of Duty series by making similar videos in Black Ops and Modern Warfare 3, but I don't think the hoax worked as well because at that point I think people just caught on it was just clearly edited footage. Still very impressive though. However, due to the advancements in technology and the fact you can check the data mines out of any game you want, hoaxes have kind of faded away now, just being a footnote to the decades gone by. Instead of you relying on what some guy on the internet or your friend said about a secret level, they don't get much chance to thrive anymore because one quick Google search will invalidate it right away. If you Google, say, how do I unlock Tails in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and you're only going to get results from modded rosters or people saying what characters they'd like to see in future installments or future updates. I feel like at best you might get a possible DLC hoax, like there may be hints of something coming in a future update. Like one I remember has to be Peter Griffin in Fortnite. Files for him were apparently found in 2022, years before he was actually added, and people got excited thinking it meant that Peter Griffin was coming to Fortnite in the next season, but he never did. So some people brush it off as Epic themselves playing a prank on data miners by leaving joke files around to mess with people and not spoil future updates. Until 2024 of course, when he actually did appear. A very similar one is license plates that were found in GTA 5's iFruit app. It featured plates from Liberty City, Vice City and ones themed around in-game sports teams that you couldn't access normally, alongside solid gold paints. So some people assumed it must have meant the next update must have been a major car modding overhaul. Or more exciting, Liberty City and Vice City were finally coming to GTA Online. Except none of those ever happened. The only thing that really came from that were the new paints I believe. But it never stopped GTA channels at the time claiming that these new plates were 100% coming in the next future update. I think nowadays that's just about as far as hoaxes go. Just junk files left in updates. So what hoaxes did I fall for in my childhood? Excluding the painfully obvious ones like the many myths and mysteries in Rockstar's games or Waluigi and Mario 64 DS, one I was told myself at primary school was about the secret island in Spyro 3's Midnight Mountain. I vaguely remember him telling me that once you get 117% and you get all the skill points in the game, you'd have a whirlwind that would actually take you up there. And you'd have one final level that would take place inside the sorceress's castle and you'd have to fight all the bosses in one go for a bonus ending, on top of the already existing bonus ending, alongside getting permanent flying and the permanent super flame power-ups. In reality, yeah, none of that ever actually happened. The island was just cut content, and if you're wondering what was actually on there, it was just 3 lives. And the only part of it that was actually true is the whirlwind was supposed to take you there, and it was supposed to be enabled after the first sorceress fight. And they actually did fix this in the Reignited trilogy, so I guess it's not really a hoax anymore, but I'm talking about the original PS1 version. Another one I was told about was Shy Guy in Mario Kart DS. Now somehow one of my friends when I was at primary school was managing to play Shy Guy in a regular race. If you don't know, in Mario Kart DS you can only play Shy Guy in DS download play mode, and even then it's only for people who don't have the game. So I had no idea how he was playing Shy Guy normally. I remember asking him and he said you need to get 3 stars on all cups and 3 stars on all the missions, including the boss fights. And even though I wanted to play Shy Guy, in my mind I knew I was not doing that. I still believed it for many years even when I had my own Action Replay DS and used the code to play as him, but I was a bit too dim-witted to notice that at the time. I always did think that you needed to get 3 stars on every single thing imaginable so you can play as him. The third one I fell for is another one on the DS in a Pokemon Platinum. I remember watching a video on how to get Giratina in a Pokemon egg. And the video was something about how if you have Dialga and Palkia and you left them both at the Pokemon Daycare Centre for about a week, they would leave you an egg that was guaranteed to be Giratina, which served as a way to have either 2 Giratinas on your team, or just a guaranteed way to actually have him if you'd messed up the first 2 times, without the use of action replaying or trading. From my memories of the video, I think it was just Giratina hatching from the egg, and I think it was the video description that mentioned it, and the video itself was made with Windows Movie Maker, and I'm also positive that it was recorded with a regular kind of camera thing, it wasn't an emulation. If anybody knows the kind of video I'm on about, let me know, but that's all I can really remember about it. And that's the end of the video. I think I've yapped on long enough about this. Hope you enjoyed the retrospective look back. What were the hoaxes that you fell for as a child? Let me know down below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.